Star Wars Battlefront 2, we're doing a comparison on Xbox Series X, both sides running on Series X. On the left, we have no FPS boost on, and on the right, we have the FPS boost applied. So the point of this is to show the difference in the visual quality between the two of them. So in order to basically activate the FPS boost on Series X, you have to go into My Games and Apps for this one and turn it on. That's because you lose the resolution quality in order to do so, and then you have to boot up the game again. If you had it running, you have to close it and start it up. Anyways, so on the left, what we're getting is actually like a native 4K resolution at 60 FPS. Both sides have HDR support. But on the right, we have basically 1080p at 120 FPS. Now, I can't film 120 FPS, YouTube doesn't support 120, so hopefully you're seeing the difference, with the key point here being to showcase the drop in resolution quality between the two in order to achieve the 120, so that you can see that in action. We're starting with a bit of a campaign level. A big thing to note kind of is like the vibrancy of the world, the color range. It just looks a lot more detailed and realistic when you're running at 4K as opposed to 1080. It does feel like quite a substantial drop, and hopefully, even though that these are like not full screens and side by side, you can see the difference between the two of them. So these videos, a fair bit of work to put together, so it'd be great if you could like them. Subscribing is great as well. And yeah, it's just kind of neat to be sort of testing out the FPS boost and just seeing it applied here. It's really quite amazing to play this game at 120, but at the same time, the sacrifice when it comes to the visual quality is something to debate when you are looking at playing this particular title. And again, completely up to you. Do you want, it's just like an optimization, right? Do you want a high frame rate at a little bit of a lower resolution, or do you want a really good frame rate at a higher resolution? Completely up to what you want and what you'd like to game with. Obviously, for competitive multiplayer, you're going to get a little bit more out of the 120, obviously, whereas I think story-wise, you might be better off, always going for that 4K 60. So we're jumping into instant action here, because I thought this might be the quickest and best way to kind of get these things lined up so you can see them side by side and get, similar environments in both runs. Obviously, when you're playing a multiplayer type thing, even if it's against AI, you're still going to get variations in what happens just due to how the AI is moving around, how they react to you, how you react, and the different decisions you make. So hopefully these are decently lined up so you can see the differences within the environment in regards to the resolution quality between the two of them. And we've got two multiplayer maps set up here. So the first, Felucia, and the second is going to be on Scarif, because I thought that one would look quite nice, and same time of day, same sort of setup in that regard, just so that they are kind of as close as possible to being in the same scenario so that you can get the best out of the side-by-side comparison that I could do for this particular one. Like I said prior, though, this really is a choice of personal preference when it comes to what you want to play. I personally think the 4K 60 really is running great. It looks fantastic, it's beautiful, it's very vibrant, it's very colorful. And if you drop to 120, you lose, at least I felt a fair bit of it. It still looks pretty good, like honestly, DICE just does amazing jobs with their technology. So it's not a bad way to play it by any means. Not at all. It actually plays quite well, and having that higher frame rate feels absolutely incredible, especially if you're competing with others online, going against the AI and stuff like that. It's like, it's cool, it's nice, but when you're playing against other people, it gives you such a jump in advantage, just in response time and the way that you're able to compete and battle against others. And I just thought this would be a really neat comparison, because you can see the difference between the two a lot more clear. When you're just kind of doing an individual quick video, kind of talking about it and showing it off, you hope people can get the idea of it. You can talk about, the resolution change. But seeing them side by side, you can directly be like, oh, okay, this is what you're sacrificing, this is what you're gaining. And I think that's really cool. And a lot of folks maybe aren't quite as interested in 120 right now, and, that's fair, but this is definitely a future-proofing thing, and I think it's fantastic that they're doing the legwork on this, and we're already seeing under 20 FPS titles. There's so many of them that are being put out there just in regards to doing just these FPS boosts or other optimizations. And I think that's really cool to see, because it wasn't something I had expected when the generation was kind of kicking off. I was like, wow, there actually are quite a few 120 FPS titles out there that are being released. And I think that really is interesting because it's pushing the technology even further than we would have expected. So, you know, it's going to feel good on both sides, right? But with 120, you get a lot more of a smoothness in the panning, and I kind of hope that's coming across just as you're sort of looking around, seeing, you know, the smoothness of the fluidity. And I know it's not perfect capture representation of both of them because the technology just isn't quite there yet for me to do so, but believe me when I say the 120 feels really, really good on Battlefront 2, and I'm very happy that it is an option. And yeah, it's just fun to do these sort of matchups so that you can see what they're like, what's going on, and just get an idea of general gameplay between the two, because I think resolution is an important comparison here, because it's something that you are sacrificing in order to get those frames. And this is a good representation of seeing either side of it in action so that you can further make an informed choice of how you want to go in and play it without having to do, you know, testing everything like I've done basically. So now we've moved on to the second map, Scarif, and I thought, you know, kind of doing the daytime option was a good point for that. It's also a bit of a lovely map in terms of the details and the design of it, so I thought this would be a good secondary option. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of it. I'm just going to kind of leave it. I don't really have any more details to put out there. Other than, you know, kind of making your choices on how you want to go and approach this, and it's entirely up to your preference. You have full range to switch between them as much as you want. Want to do FPS boost one day and resolution the other day? Go ahead, entirely up to you. You just got to click the, again, under the My Games and Apps for this title. Just turn it on and off and reload the game. You're good to go. So I hope you found this helpful, and good luck out there on the Battlefront as you fight across all of the eras and have a great time with it.